I think we'll get started. Lana, do you want us to get started? Terrific. We'll get started. Thank you all for coming. We're really excited to be a part of this year's FOSI conference. And thank you all for bringing this beautiful weather to us. So it makes it that much more fun to be here. This panel is on video games, on leveling up. So if you're not here for video games, stay because you're going to learn a lot and get really excited about games. I'm Stan Pierre-Louis. I'm the president and CEO of the Entertainment Software Association. I'm delighted to be moderating this discussion with 4 distinguished panelists. You know, today, almost 3 billion people around the world play video games, and they've increased in popularity in large part because people love playing, they love having fun, they love connecting with one another. You know, ESA, in partnership with trade associations around the world, sponsored research just to understand the power of games. And what we learned is in 12 different countries, ranging from Japan and South Korea and Australia to Europe and the US and Canada, that number one reason people play is to have fun, not a surprise, but they also love connecting with one another and for stress relief. And so video games have become an important part of our mental health at a time when people are really thinking about those issues. But online safety has also been in an area, particularly lately, that we've focused on as an industry and as we've seen in the online atmosphere all around. And so we wanted to bring some distinguished panelists to talk about where the video game is headed in many of these spaces and what are things we can learn from the experience of the video game companies. So with that, I wanted to have the panelists introduce themselves and either tell us what game they're playing or what game they love or something about games in some way. So I'm going to start with you, Corie, and maybe introduce yourself and then to the question at hand.
Hi, everyone. I'm Corie Wright. I'm the Vice President and Global Head of Public Policy for Epic Games. I really wanted to be able to say that I was crushing Fortnite's new OG map that we dropped a few weeks ago, but the truth is it requires a level of hand-eye coordination and strategy that is far more than I could muster at the end of the day. So I will say that if I'm in the waiting room at the doctor or I'm on hold with customer service, I find that Candy Crush gives me just that right ratio of patience to low blood pressure. So that's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and Corey's also raising a young gamer, so you know she's contributing.
I've got some blood pressure.
Nicodemus.
Hi everyone, name's Nicodemus Madehdou. I'm the CEO and co-founder of JumpButton Studio. I'm a product of this industry we're talking about as I immigrated here from Monrovia, Liberia back in '04, and the way I made my first friend was through a computer game that happened to live right around the corner from me, something I could not have done outside of my home as a new person in a new country.
Fantastic.
And
yes.
Game, since I've started working on them, I rarely play. And the one I do play, you will likely know of it because it no longer exists on these stores. But it's called Vainglory. It's similar to League of Legends, your MOBAs. But I could not get into League of Legends, so Vainglory was my fallback. And it's a great game.
Terrific, terrific. Catherine.
Hi, I'm Catherine Jensen from Sony Interactive Entertainment, home of the PlayStation. And I lead our consumer experience, which includes not only support for our products and services and digital commerce, but our player-to-player engagement. And online safety is a critical part of the way that we want to make sure that everyone enjoys our games, our content, and connecting. With respect to what game I'm playing, I think similar to Corie, I don't have a lot of time to play games, but I am loving Spider-Man 2. It's a rich, immersive story, and it's just really entertaining.
Terrific, thanks. And Ben.
Hey everyone, Ben Golant. I'm the Senior Director for Global Games Policy at Tencent. And there I cover the waterfront of all things related to video games worldwide, working with Stan and ESA and all the other associations around the world on all the hot topic public policy issues. I'll get into more of that later, but in terms of my favorite game, I have 550 on my iPhone. So it's like picking and choosing who's your favorite family member. But I play all the time, but quietly, so no one knows that I'm playing, especially at home. And I'll let you know if you want to stick around what my favorites are.
Excellent, excellent. We're going to pause there for Ben because this would
I
be
could
the
talk a long time.
Yeah, that'd be the entire session.
I'm also a professor of law at Georgetown University. I teach a video game law class.
Terrific. Thanks. So maybe let's start in the heart of the matter. It would be great to know from some of our panelists the trust and safety efforts that they're doing at their companies, either working on or things that you've already produced out in the marketplace for users. So Catherine, since your title has trust and safety baked into it, maybe we'll start with you and what Sony Interactive Entertainment's been up to.
Sure. So first off, we have a three-prong approach to trust and safety. The first one is around control. So different types of controls that you can take to design your own personalized gaming experience, whether that's parental controls, whether that's preferential engagement, but we want to educate everyone on the options and opportunities you have to customize your gaming experience. So we spend a lot of time not only on the features, but about promoting those features and helping people understand them, because it starts with account creation. The second thing is around shielding. How do we shield our players from unwanted experience? And that's where we leverage technology and microservices and different types of elements. And then the final one is enforce. We have a code of conduct. How do we make sure that code of conduct is inclusive and welcoming to everyone and that they have options, not only with who they play with, but what they play? So definitely all around education, inclusion, and information is really the core principles of how we look to promote our online space.
Terrific, thanks. Corie, you had mentioned Fortnite earlier, and I know that's an extremely popular game, including its most recent season. Maybe share with us a little bit of what's going on at Epic Games.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So one thing we're actually quite excited about that's rolling out later this week is a collaboration with the International Age Rating Coalition. So for folks who may be less familiar with how Fortnite is set up, it's actually a multi-game ecosystem. And players can drop into games that we call islands. Some of them are created by Epic, so Battle Royale, Save the World, but other islands are actually created and built by players, so players become creators. So the collaboration that we have started with IARC is actually to assign ratings to all of those creative islands so that parents and players can get a sense of a broader experience, but is within the sort of the customization and control that they want. So if you are a creator, you essentially fill out a questionnaire, you get an IARC rating, and that is displayed so that parents can set controls as to what the highest level game they would want their kids to be able to play. So we find that this will give parents a better sense of expectations of what they expect their kids to be able to play, what they can enjoy, and it allows parents who maybe are comfortable with their kids having more of an exploratory experience, have higher rated games in terms of age, and those who want more of a tailored and controlled experience can err towards lower levels. So we're excited to be able to give that sort of customization and visibility to parents, and that is rolling out later this week. So stay tuned.
Awesome.
Oh, fantastic. Nicodemus, as a game creator, as someone who's running a company, maybe share with us, as you're developing games and then as you're releasing them, how are you thinking about trust and safety in your ecosystem?
Most definitely. So most of our recent focus areas has been AR, MR. So for example, those of you who are dreading the future in which you see people walk outside of your home with headsets, goggles, or things that might be showing and displaying information you cannot see directly without said hardware. So we are essentially thinking about, and similar to when you walk outside and go for a walk, what you're going to be aware of or thinking about is going to be different than if you're about to go ride your bike, than if you're about to go ride your car, right? So when you look at the headsets, how do we think about all of those things from a young age, i.e. 10, starting at 10, right, and up, of all the different things people could potentially not think about, and how do we make sure we facilitate that from a technology level and hardware level, as well as visual notes, whether you're about to walk off a sidewalk, hey, we don't see a sidewalk there, make sure you're being aware of your environment, things of that nature, knowing when to kind of help people be aware and when they're not totally immersed in what they're playing. So those are the things and rules we're thinking about when we make the games we make for augmented reality. And those are the things you're probably, as people who are purchasing these future hardware, will be thinking about as well.
Fantastic. And Ben, what are some of the things going on at Tencent on this front?
Sure. So we have a 5-pronged approach to trust and safety, and I wrote them down so everybody can hear them out. First, notices to players outlining acceptable and unacceptable behaviors. 2, automated tools that aid in the detection and prevention of the display of inappropriate language at the outset. 3, human moderation through community managers and customer service teams to review and mitigate occurrences of unacceptable content and behaviors in real time. 4th, mechanisms for reporting and blocking hostile and toxic players. And 5, safety settings such as the ability to turn off chat for a minor if a complaint is received from a parent. But also important is terms of service. We learned that it's very important for all people to know clear, concise, and understandable terms of service. And so for PUBG Mobile, one of our biggest games, it reads like this: we strive to make all our players and users feel safe and welcome when using our services and playing our games, and we want everyone to play by the same rules. So if you use our services as intended without cheating, without being abusive, or disruptive, or disrespectful, or being unfair, you're probably in the clear. But please read all the terms of this EULA carefully. So it's really important to make sure that everybody at the very common level knows exactly what to expect when playing one of our games.
And so you selected that language to be as plain spoken as possible just for that
exactly
purpose.
Right. That's purposeful.
Fantastic, fantastic. Today, 2/3 of Americans play video games. Probably 76% of kids under 18 play, and so that means that parents and caregivers are always looking for information and wanting to understand, how to make sure that they can achieve online safety for their kids. So maybe I'll start with you on this one, Corie. What are some of the things at Epic that you're thinking about when you think about kids online, and what parents need to know how they can become better educated?
Sure. So I think the example I gave about the IR collaboration is indicative that one of the things that we put a very high value on is choice and customization. So, for example, in addition to the ratings, another feature that we have is very granular voice and text chat controls. So, parent, you can go in and you can say that your kid can chat with everybody, friends and teammates, friends or nobody, and that they can set those based on their comfort level with who they want their child to be able to communicate with in game. I think the other thing that's really important for parents is to understand, okay, what are the social features in a game? What are the purchasing options? How can you customize that? One of the things that we launched about a year ago at Epic is something called cabined accounts. So if you are 13 or under the age of 13, or your country's age of digital consent, whichever one is higher, you essentially are met with a neutral age gate. You put in your age, and then an email is generated to your parent to essentially give their verified consent to allow you to access certain features in Fortnite. But while you are waiting for your parent to give permission, your kid can play Fortnite, but at a very high privacy setting. So no purchasing, no chatting. And what we're really trying to solve for here is that, unfortunately, when kids are confronted with an age gate, they know that if they put in their correct age, they'll either be shut out until their parent gives consent, or they'll get a really watered down version of the game. So what we're trying to do is help diminish the incentive for kids to lie about their age and give them a very fulsome experience, but a very safe and privacy forward one. So we've been really excited about cabined accounts and thinking about how you get kids to engage and give information that allows them and their parents and us, frankly, at Epic, to tailor their experience to them. One of the other things is when the parent goes through the verified consent flow, not only are they giving consent, but they're also seeing all of the settings and privacy features, so they don't have to go back in later, which can be a bit intimidating to a parent. And you can do it on the website if you're a little intimidated by a controller, me. And so basically trying to make it as easy and the flow as seamless as possible for parents to tailor that environment. So I think a lot of customization and parents knowing their kids' capabilities and maturity levels is a really important thing.
That's great. Hey, Nicodemus, when you talked about trust and safety earlier, you were talking about the physical elements, which I would have needed a few times early in my AR and VR experiences. In terms of providing information for parents and caregivers on education, what are some of the things you think about as a smaller company?
So as a smaller company, our pockets aren't as deep as bigger corporations, so we aren't able to facilitate as many things as larger companies. So for us, it's about understanding where the intersection is for the two-way street of safety. And this could be fortunate for some people and unfortunate for others. That street is knowing we're responsible for a majority of what we're facilitating, the experiences we're building, but also trusting that the families or parents of those who are picking up the products we're building are able to and going to kind of participate in that journey with your kid if it is within that ecosystem of where they want a lot of parental controls. So ensuring, one, okay, we're providing and thinking about all the ways in which we can ensure there are settings and options available, but also providing ways in which we can educate the family members or parents involved in whatever parental controls are involved with the games and helping them do it very easily. And also, if they can't figure it out, how do we ensure they can access somebody on our team, right? We're not big where we're inaccessible. So how can we ensure they can access somebody on our team to help them through that process and figure out the best way to be able to provide them a seamless, no contact way to be able to proceed with what they need to do. So for us on the smaller side, smaller teams, making sure we can facilitate as much of it, making sure you can have access to us so we can help you through it or answer any questions. And then thirdly, just ensuring the tools that we're putting in place for security and the safety of your kids, or if they're reaching that age and they want more control, how do we transition that control from you, the parent, to said kid, right? Thinking about all those things and making it as seamless as possible, essentially.
Well, that's a very bespoke model for a small company. It's very Nordstrom's of you. Like,
It's not hard to, fortunately, it's not hard to answer emails yet in the world of, thankfully, AI.
So, Catherine, are you giving out your personal email for people to?
No.
So how are you doing it at SIE?
So a couple of things. First off, we are, just like Corie and Nicodemus talked about, we're very committed to education, making sure that information is available, easy to understand. It starts with a conversation, right? Talk with your kids. Have your console in a public area, right? A common area. Gaming is supposed to be fun, so have that conversation. We do have, of course, parental controls. Who are you going to play with? Are you going to be able to purchase? When can you play? We have play limits, whether it's time or time of day. And we want the parents, similar to what Corie described, when you go through the account setup or you're a family manager for multiple accounts, you can see the different types of options that you can set. And that's another form of education, right? When you're going through the setup with your family, you know what's available. And so even if you don't set up, for example, designated play times to begin with, you can always go back and do that. We have it both on the console as well as on an app. And again, most people are very comfortable with the app, not so comfortable with the controller. But that's another opportunity for you to sit with your kids or other members and walk through it together. It also gives you a topic of conversation. Talk to your kids. Talk about the game. Talk about their experiences and really create an open environment.
Ben, did you have something to add to that?
No, I just wanted to commend both ESA and ESRB for creating super teams, as I say, the Justice League at ESA and the Trust and Safety Hub and the Justice Society at ESRB for creating this rich company of different people from all skill sets that come and help the industry talk about trust and safety, talk about protecting children, talk about age ratings. It's just an amazing team I've seen in the last couple of years.
And those unfamiliar with the ESRB, the Entertainment Software Rating Board provides age-appropriate information for games at different levels. There's also a privacy program associated with it. The FTC has noted in the past that the ESRB is
Exactly.
the best of the entertainment industry in terms of self-regulation. So if you guys want to learn more about it, I know Pat Vance is here. I saw Julie Kitt earlier this morning. So more to learn there.
If
but
I can just put
Yeah.
a plug in, given what I spoke about at the top of the panel with our iArt collaboration, ESRB is the US member. And so there's different ratings bodies for different countries. So depending on where you're playing, you're going to see a rating that is familiar to you, that you trust. And ESRB has been an incredible partner with us here in the US to get those creator islands rated. So.
That's terrific. I want to transition a little bit to kind of the benefits of playing. We've talked about the trust and safety aspects and how we make sure that parents and caregivers have the best information possible. Ben, maybe you might share a little bit about what you see as the benefits of play, particularly in this age where we need those releases.
Sure. I mean, I can talk forever, as you might well know.
We will
but
put
I will
the
not.
clock on. Go ahead.
I spoke about this at my law school class last Monday, and it was amazing. Every one of the 18 students said that video games provide connectiveness. They alleviate loneliness. They create great memories. And so many people said during Christmas or Hanukkah, I got my first NES or I got my first PlayStation. I remember playing with my sister all day long, and they continue to play. There was one student who says, here I'm a little bit lonely in DC, but my father and I love to play online all the time. It gives us something to talk about, whether it's Madden or some other game. So those mental health benefits can't be overstated. I think that's one of the things that everyone should know more about. But again, the industry does a whole lot of good in terms of education, helping the environment, especially in accessibility and helping people who are disabled have the ability to be just like everybody else online. Nobody knows who you are. You just play and you have a great time and you make a lot of good friends.
Terrific. Nicodemus, as you think about the value of playing the games you're making, particularly the kinds of technologies you're using, what drives you to do that in essence?
So going back to my why, this industry is part of what I do. Again, I came here from a different country, couldn't make friends, made a friend through a game, right? Experiencing that gave me firsthand experience, like, this can really happen for people. How do we make this 100 times more possible, no matter who you are and where you come from, right, in a new country? So play, I feel, is very important, and the mental, when we look at 2020 and what happened there, right, and where a lot of things were going wrong, people could turn to games where they could trust. Nothing was about to go wrong here, right, unless suddenly they shut down the servers or the server couldn't handle all the people that were now turning to games as a way to escape, learn, re-educate, and prepare for what's next, right? So gaming is a core component. I always say it's going to be the epicenter of engagement as we proceed year after year, and anyone who is not well versed or understanding of this industry will find themselves very misinformed and unable to kind of find a very important outlet that so many people are tapped into.
Yeah. Anyone else want that, or?
I would just say, as a parent, it can be fun to play with your kids. I mentioned that I Candy Crush a little bit on my own, but I also play with my daughter. We sit with the tablet and we take turns switching the candies. And then she disputes the move I made and said, hey, Mom, if you had done that, it would have been more points. Why didn't you do that? Aren't you like 43? I'm 7. Why am I so much better than you are at this? You should really be better. So it's a great bonding experience. She gets to show her skills, and I get a lot of constructive feedback that is like really rewarding for me. But it's nice to be able to have that time together, and as she progresses and wants to do more complicated games, I'm hoping that she'll still consider me to be her game buddy. But for now, we're just crushing it. So.
Yeah, as a parent, I can say I've experienced that.
Yeah.
It's,
yeah.
it's
I feel really good about myself.
Yeah,
it's great for my
I used to.
Stan, I'd just add that similar to Nicodemus, there is no reason to underestimate the power of connection, of social engagement, anywhere, anytime. You can connect with people like you and share experiences that are unique. And I just think that coming out of the pandemic, again, without gaming, how would we have stayed connected outside of our physical bubble? And it's just a really big opportunity for people to stay connected, be engaged, and again, experience play. Too often we have, negative things in real life, and play gives you an opportunity to shed that for a little while.
Yeah.
I'd like to add that gaming is not just digital either. I know we're talking about privacy and safety, but even your Monopoly, your
Sure.
Uno, etc.
Yeah, we've had family fights on that too.
Exactly.
Severe,
And
very aggressive.
there's reasons they have rules to those games, and that is your privacy and safety format, right? So you can facilitate play in a humane manner. But
That's right.
That's fantastic. Obviously, with all this talk about games, online and online safety, there have been a lot of questions by regulators and legislators around online safety, and in particular how it relates to games. Maybe, Ben, you might share with us your thoughts around what would you want a regulator or legislator to know about the video game ecosystem as they think about how to legislate or regulate for the online environment?
Well, I think it's important to differentiate social media and social media networks from video games, because video games have four unique components as I see them, being a professor and working at Tencent and working at ESA. One is that video games are highly creative works protected by copyright law. Super important. IP is super important. Video games are highly expressive works protected by the First Amendment. Again, at the apex of the First Amendment pyramid, just like movies, music, and everything else, video games are just there at the top. Third, video games are culturally important works worthy of exhibition and display in art museums, and we've seen this all over the country. MoMA, LACME in the US, in the UK, in Europe, you have these video game exhibitions that are celebrating the art of video games, and even books. And I remember at ESA there are so many different books about the art of video games. And fourth, video games are an economic engine creating jobs and wealth at local, national, and international levels, which can't be overstated. I know your team has said that, but I just want to share it with the crowd how it creates jobs, and not only jobs, but really great paying jobs all over the country, all over the world. And so everyone's taking part, and then there's something around, 450 undergraduate programs in the US that are now feeding into the system, and that leads to some of your stuff you're doing about Black Girls Who Code, how important it is to have coding taught at the elementary school level, because we have these geniuses in elementary school now who will be the next great video game designer.
And we're seeing a huge growth in STEM driving interest in games and vice versa. And more, like you said, colleges and universities really embracing video game design just because of its relationship with not just building games, but simulations and all manner of other industries. The airline industry loves video gamers, right? They just love people who can help them with their simulators.
All these leaders now, you can see Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, all said, why did you get into what you were doing? And they all said, we started with video games, we love them, and we still do. And Elon Musk was in Fortune magazine saying, what do you do in this high stress environment? He says, I'd like to play games because it makes me feel better. So it's just a virtuous cycle upward.
I think my favorite stat is out of University of Surrey, which says basically girls who play video games are twice as likely to get a STEM degree and matriculate in college than those who didn't. And anytime I say that to someone who gamed as a young girl, they go, "Yep, that's how it started," which is fantastic. As we think about that, let's also think about representation in the industry and representation in game making. I know that's something that's been important to you, Nicodemus, in thinking about inclusion and the way you build games to make it safe for everyone. Maybe you might share a little bit what goes into game making as you think about that for your company.
Definitely. I think we're still working on it now, but one important fast part to our company, because we're small and growing, is we want our team to be represented at the forefront of what we build, because we feel right now what's missing is when you go to the team pages across interest in the industry, the likelihood of you also wanting to be involved is based on those pictures you've seen across those websites, right? And there isn't enough effort being thought into, like that the very first place people kind of might learn about you apart from the ads they see on games, right? So when we build our games, we start there, right? Okay, what team is building this experience we're trying to bring to life? And what is this experience? Who does it most resonate with, right? And then once we have all those checked off and we understand this is why we're building this is why this team is building this, and this is why and how it's going to be reflected once it launches on the site, so that everybody that plays and has interest in not just building on top of what we have, but want to work in this space we have, they can feel welcomed, right? So those are the types of conversations, as deep as it is, that we have as a team and try to maintain across all the products we build, so that whenever we ask why are we building this, the team is a representation of that experience we're trying to bring to life.
Yeah, SIE, it seems like you guys have really thought about this a lot as well.
We have been really focused on inclusion and representation, in particular with respect to players with different abilities, both in our hardware as well as our content. We think about the features that would enable a global community to feel that they can compete, that they can connect, and that they can communicate in the same way as everyone else. We have a new controller coming out next month that allows customized access to our console and our content, and many of our studios are working with different advocacy agencies to make sure that we have representation. I think very similar to Nicodemus, not everyone looks like us, plays like us, thinks like us. So the more you can enrich and inform, the development and the production of gaming and play, the better experience you're going to have for everyone.
Fantastic. Corie, anything from Epic Games on this?
Just that I think core to enjoying a game is that everyone should feel welcome. So when you're a parent or a player or anyone, understanding what the rules of the road and the community expectations are in the game are really important. For us, it's, griefing people, being negative, being hateful, all of those things make the game less fun, so they're not allowed. And we take very seriously reports, and we'll be rolling out new features around voice reporting later this week that helps people to report when people are not abiding by our community standards. So again, I'm sort of sneak peeking, previewing some features that we have, but it's really important that if you're going to be enjoying Fortnite, it's enjoyable not just for you, but for everyone, and it's a competitive game, but, keep in mind that you've got folks that are just there to have a good time. Yep.
That's pretty good. Ben, you were mentioning before about the importance of how games impact people, but also how legislators have to think about it. I wondered if you might share a little bit more about the role that games have played in developing how we think about societal issues.
Oh gosh, that can be an essay actually. But I think what's important to think about in this context is, it takes a village from what I heard. It takes policymakers, it takes us as parents, and it takes teachers and everybody else to take part in being engaged in your children's future. I was just going to do a short story that my kids play games, GameCube and all the rest, and they went to Princeton and they went to UPenn and Swarthmore, and so just because you think people, oh no, this is not an activity that it'll take away from your studies, it actually enhanced studies, and that's something that's critically important, that it creates curiosity and fun, and you want to get engaged. And so being part of the community means that you also work together with others, and I can say played a part together. Campaign during COVID showed the connectedness of how you were staying at home, but you wanted to be with friends and family, but you couldn't. And then Playing for the Planet, in terms of environmental interaction, many of us here in the room, took part in that conversation and still do, and working with the United Nations, and I know you're doing great work in Geneva to educate all the W associations that are part of the UN to promote games as a positive force in the world, and I think it's just important to remember that. And also, this is a value proposition, right? You tell legislative and lawmakers, you spend maybe $200 to go see a Commanders game with a family of 4, but you spend maybe $70 for a game that can last 100 hours. Plus, you get all this boundless fun. And I think we shouldn't shy away from that. Just because something is fun doesn't mean it's bad. It's actually good.
Yeah.
And that's one thing to stress.
Maybe I might ask each of our panelists, just to loop it all back to trust and safety, if there are 2 or 3 things you think either parents or regulators should know as we kind of think about moving forward in games, what should they kind of know about what we do and how we're different, or how we try to, expand opportunities for, people to engage and to connect with one another, and what to think about as, from a parent standpoint, but also from a regulator standpoint?
That's a big topic. There's a lot I could put in there. I guess I would go back to the beginning, which is a parent, understand the games that you're playing, and it's on us on this panel to make sure that we've put in tools and information that make it easier for you, but, understand the different features, and one of the best ways to do that is to play with your kid, and you get the added bonus of bonding with them. The one thing I would say, and sort of in addition to Ben's, just because it's fun doesn't mean it's bad. Just because there are rules doesn't mean it's not creative. I think one of the most amazing things, both in sort of the breadth and depth of subject matter in gaming, is that there are other features. So as I kind of teed up at the beginning with Fortnite, there's the ability not just to play, but to create and play and invite people to play with you. So this building early a skill set of creativity and space and game design is one that I think is really, really exciting, and kids, frankly, folks of all ages, can really let those shine. And so understanding how those skills can contribute to overall well-being, to the economy, and just, coolness and smartness, to the extent that regulators and legislators recognize that, I think is something to bear in mind.
Nicodemus, in addition to coolness and smartness, what else would you impart?
I would err on the side of reminding that digital gaming is the youngest of the entertainment sector. We've had movies, books, music longer than we've had digital gaming, and yet we are the fastest growing space currently within the sector. So that comes with a lot that we have to be responsible for. So erring on what was said, in that it's going to take a village, and that is us on this side making sure we provide the tools and think about all the things we shouldn't expect a parent to think about if they don't actively play games, and then also entrusting family members to want to jump into this world their kids are involving themselves in, so that they can understand more why, how, what role it plays in what their future could look like. Because games, a lot of the stories around games has been how it's changed the trajectory of someone's life, right? From who they ended up marrying to the career they ended up picking. So it is definitely important that you participate in what we're building and ask the questions that might be difficult to ask, because we don't know what we don't know, right? So we depend on the information, that feedback loop, to be able to make sure the experience is as good as it can be, and more better for every iteration that comes after.
That's awesome.
Cool. You want to share anything, Ben, or you're going to show us a game?
Oh, no. I just wanted to commend our friends at Sony for The Last of Us. I mean, it's an amazing game, well, 2 games, and an amazing series. I nominated for a number of Emmy Awards. And whoever hasn't seen that on HBO, it's like, especially the 3rd episode, it's a phenomenal series. I just want to talk about transmedia, how...
Don't spoil the 3rd episode for people who haven't seen it, Ben. I don't know where you're going to go with this. Let me speak for those.
With transmedia, now, remember, we had the whole superhero cycle of turning Marvel and DC comic characters into movies. Now everyone is glomming onto games as the source of inspiration. Five Nights at Freddy's was a surprise hit two weeks ago. Then Super Mario Brothers was, $1.3 billion, the second highest movie gross aside from Barbie this year. And so everyone knows now in this generation, from Z to X, I'm an X, and they were in between, that video games are the place to be. And Hollywood knows it. Now there are concerts all over the country playing all sorts of themes from different games. It's just a rich field to be in right now.
Awesome. And Ben is available for birthday parties, bar mitzvahs, you name it. If you want copyright or if you want games, he's definitely your person.
Yep.
Did you want to share?
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. And definitely the way that content transcends both upwards as well as across play is super important. We released Gran Turismo, a movie about video games that then transitioned into real life driving. And it also, again, just comes back to that conversation and that shared experience that you can have with others. And it's about being approachable. I think from what we'd like regulators to think about is, first off, curiosity, right? What you think is probably not what you know. And then also challenge, ask questions, learn, challenge us, and just continue to help evolve the experiences that we have globally as well as locally, and help people have more choices, informed choices. So, yeah.
Terrific. And a lot of the information you heard today around the ratings, but also around some of the tools, if you visit esrb.org, you can get the rating information, the privacy certified, but also it's actually a family resource guide on things you can do as a parent or caregiver to engage with your kids about playing games and the like. So there's a lot of information on there that will encapsulate some of what you heard today. And there's also a section where you can go to where the various platforms host their tools for managing and working with kids. And so if you want to know how to set it on the app, Sony Interactive Entertainment's been kind enough to provide resources on how do you do that, and same with the other platforms. So a lot of information available there. I want to greatly thank these panelists for coming across the country and for being here with all of you and to talk about these topics. We can hang out a little bit afterward if you guys want to chat, but I just wanted to take a moment to thank them and thank you for coming as well. So let's give yourselves a hand. All right. And I know lunch is soon, so we'll head down that way. Thanks. All right, thank you. No, that was great.